I'm Kim Trueheart. I'm a native of Baltimore, and I am an active citizen. And currently, I'm managing the Liberty Rec Center through a project that I call the Liberty Village Project, because it takes a village to raise a child. I was born here 61 years ago. And when I graduated high school, I think the era of the 70s was a lot different in terms of academics and what the system had to offer our children. True, I didn't have air conditioning in my school. Western High School is closed early today because they don't have AC. But we survived, we endured. And the thing that made it enticing was that we had quality teachers, we had a great curriculum, and we were learning, right? So I immediately after high school joined the Navy, and I left Baltimore for almost 30 years. And there was a period in time in the late 2000, after 2006, 2007, 8, where I wanted to give back somehow. And so I started volunteering in Baltimore while I was living in Prince George's County and still working for the Navy. And as I was volunteering, I was observing that the system was failing our children. And I felt that the Navy training, education, and work experience, I could come back home and apply those to help get out of this situation. Because I felt that there weren't enough active citizens involved in the process to make things better. So I wanted to lead by example. So I decided not just to volunteer, but to move back into the city. So in 2010, I put my feet solidly on the ground back in my hometown of Baltimore. And since 2010, that's 8 years now, I have been working day and night to help our children. One instance is what you see here. This is a rec center that was operated by Baltimore City. And Baltimore City, under a previous mayor, decided that it could not operate the 55 rec centers that were open back then. And I'm talking 2012. And so there was a plan to privatize rec centers, to hand them over to organizations who showed the city they had the capacity. And I basically said, I cannot let this rec center, because it had moved so far down the privatization path that the city was about to award a contract to a company that would turn this entire facility, 10,000 square feet, into a daycare. And I said, gee, that's not what we need most in this community. And I opposed it officially in writing. And I asked the powers that be, what would it take for this community to step up and take over the rec center? So in collaboration with the CEO of the school system at that time, the principal and I partnered in 2012, November, to take over operations of this rec center, to provide community-driven programming, volunteer-based programming. And we would raise funds to pay folks to sustain the operation. And that's what we've done now. It'll be 6 years in November, which is a wonderful blessing.
Good morning.
Hey, Ricky.
Yeah.
I like Whitney.
Kyle, what's up, man? Good morning. Good morning. Good night.
Hey, I just want to let you know that Ricky took his life last night.
When I grew up, there were over 120 rec centers in this city. And so when I came back, there were 55. That troubled me, right? When I look at the schools, we had a tremendous amount of teachers who weren't from this area. When I grew up, we had Coppin State Teachers College. We had Towson State Teachers College. We had teaching institutions that were graduating folk who were hired to work in our local school system. That wasn't happening. And we were importing more and more teachers into the city, and some of that was intentional. You know, we actually had recruiting trips to the Philippines, and we had a whole gaggle of teachers from the Philippines. And the rationale back then was there weren't enough educators of color graduating from local institutions and willing to be hired, right, and go into the teaching profession. I found that ludicrous, all right. And then we were hiring companies to do alternative recruiting and certification, like Teach for America, and we can talk about that for hours. And in many instances, the teachers that they were recruiting were not people of color. And there is research, lots of research, that says when you put a person of color in front of a classroom full of children of color, and in particular when you put a male person of color in front of the classroom, our young men excel. They just eat that up. And we don't have a lot. Here in Liberty Elementary School, we have 2 men of color who teach. And that's inadequate. And the decline of black teachers nationally is being scrutinized significantly. So loss of rec centers, low quality instruction. I believe that the curriculum was dumbed down in Baltimore for a couple of decades. I attribute that to the fact that we didn't have committed teachers. One of the things that I told the story about at a workshop recently, that my 4th, 5th, and 6th grade homeroom teacher, this is elementary school, lived a block away from me. I could look out my front door and I could see her back door. Right? As I walked to school in the morning, she walked to school. As I walked home, she walked home. And she did not hesitate to stop at some child's house, knock on the door, and give a report to the parent, right? That was normal, right? She was of our community. She lived in our community. She had a vested interest in the children in that community. And I don't know that we see a lot of that today. I don't know that we have a lot of teachers who are part of the fabric of the neighborhood, right? Who walk to and from school, right? You know, we got a small parking lot out back that is just overcrowded with staff. They all drive here, right? Nobody's walking, right? Nobody lives that close. Yeah. And so those things were stark differences for me, right? The fact that my elementary school, every teacher in there was black, that was okay. Yeah, that was a norm. Okay. Today, you may be lucky if half the staff is black. Now, that in and of itself is not a problem, but the cultural competency of some of the staff is a problem. And do they get it? Do they understand the plight of our children who grow up in impoverished neighborhoods, who do without in many ways, right? Not just what's inside the home, but what's in the community they live without. I was talking this morning about trauma, right? And so I'm part of a breakthrough series collaborative with the University of Maryland that looks at trauma and how we can make Baltimore resilient and the residents resilient. And I talked about the phenomenon of today, Tuesday, the 4th of September, 2018. 60 schools in Baltimore City don't have air conditioning. 60 schools opened this morning, the first day of the new school year, with the intent that by noon they would dismiss all the students. Now, kids have been planning to go back to school for weeks. Their parents have been planning, right? They thought they had babysitters and childcare and all of that lined up. But we threw a curve at them last night. So the fact that the expectation of the learner and the parent is here, and the delivery of the service is well below our expectation. Then the other thing that occurred is our rec centers, which are now operated, they only have 40 of them now, operated by Baltimore City Rec and Parks Department, closed the 12 neighborhood walk-to pools 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. Now, 3 weeks ago, the youth workers' jobs ended, right? Summer was still raging, yeah. Summer camps were probably mostly over, but yet the kids in the neighborhood had no pool. I mean, pool and summer go hand in hand. So why would the administration close the pools 3 weeks before Labor Day, right? You know, my expectation, the community's expectation, is pools open Memorial Day weekend and they close Labor Day weekend. Where did we go wrong? How did that not get conveyed to somebody that I expected Memorial Day, the pool's open, Labor Day, it's closing? Okay, but no, we didn't do that. Now, this morning I heard an announcement that all the pools would be open today because of the extreme heat. I thought that was nice. Somebody's listening, paying attention, trying to meet our expectation, a little late. The Liberty Pool closed 2.5 weeks ago, right? And I just went off. And so, as a result, they opened the pool up last week. So we had the pool throughout the weekend. But it shouldn't take that, right? It should take some prior planning and budgeting. And that seems never to be the case. You know, the only thing that we are certain that we will fund is the police department. But we have no assurances that we're going to fund recreation centers and pools. In fact, we closed them, right? Yeah, you go from 55 to 40. That was intentional. That was a plan, right? The same with schools. You don't maintain them. You know, we don't just have a lack of adequate air and heat in 60 schools, right? The water isn't drinkable, right? The classrooms aren't well equipped. The necessities of learning generally aren't there. But yet, we continue with this thing, right, called government and public services and public utilities, and it's substandard in many instances. And why is that? Why are we accepting of these substandard services? I don't get it.
No. No.
No.
No.
No. No lupus.
No lupus.
If we're going to say no to lupus,
We need to know lupus.
Lupus has completely changed my life.
Lupus is one of those things that takes over somebody's body and you don't know anything about it.
It's just unpredictable, it's tricky, confusing.
There's certain things that I can't do, but I still get up every morning and do it.
It's really a cruel mystery.
Lupus can impact any organ in the body, any organ.
It was attacking my kidney. Some people it's the brain, it's the heart.
I'd gone into stage 4 kidney failure, which sent me into respiratory failure, which almost made me lose my life.
When I was first diagnosed, that's when it really kicked in, just knowing that there was no cure.
I really felt like maybe I might not be able to make it through this.
We don't look like we have the disease, and I think that's also part of the problem.
You can be sick even though you don't look sick.
That is one of the cruel aspects of it, is there sometimes people don't believe you.
Lupus does not discriminate. It can affect men, women, white, black, older, younger.
I've had lupus for 10 years.
I am 17 years old. I am 11.
We've got to find a way to get through this.
The Lupus Foundation of America is a great organization because they're getting people out there, letting people know what it's all about.
And by knowing more, we'll be better able to help and unlock the mysteries that do surround lupus.
There is something we can do. There is hope.
let's take this moment and turn it into a movement.
End the confusion and end lupus.
There is hope. We just have to get involved. I haven't given up.
I challenge you to know.
No.
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 No lupus. Go to lupus.org/no and help solve this cruel mystery.
We're always ready for action.
We can do it in 2 minutes.
Now, when I was in high school, I couldn't do it in 2 minutes. By the time I got to college, 2 minutes was a cinch.
I really like it when a guy can do it in under 2 minutes.
The key to my marriage is doing it in under 2 minutes.
I can do it in 2 minutes.
I can do it in less than 2 minutes.
I can do it in under 2 minutes myself, and with my boyfriend.
Each year, the Red Cross responds to 66,000 disasters.
Most of them are home fires.
Most of them are home fires.
Ooh.
I know. Whoa.
7 people die each day, on average, from home fires.
7 people a day.
That's way too many people.
You can
can save your life and your family's life.
Make an escape plan.
Make an escape plan.
Make an escape plan.
It's critical that everyone can get out in under 2 minutes.
I can get from my bedroom to my front door in less than 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes.
I can take my shirt off, pour glitter all over myself, and still do it in 2 minutes.
Called my mom the other day, told her I did it in under 2 minutes. She was so proud.
1.5. What? There's no way. Yeah.
Check your smoke alarms monthly to make sure they're working properly.
Smoke alarms cut your risk of death or injury in half.
Half? It's 50%.
This little guy, cutting it in half.
And if it's beeping at you, don't rip it out of the wall. Give it a battery, you know? Make it happy so it can help you get out of the house in time.
Make sure to visit redcross.org/2steps, 2 minutes.
2 steps.
2 minutes.
2 steps, 2 minutes.
Visit the link below to find out more.
Wherever it is.
Not there. Right here.
I think it's inadequate funding is where we need to start. Right now, the school district gets a huge allocation, and I believe in my presentation I said 65% of the funds to operate Baltimore City schools comes from the state of Maryland. 2% comes from the federal government, and the remainder comes from local Baltimore tax base. Now, when you divide that money up, there are people who will tell you that Baltimore City gets, all added, state, federal, local, about $16,000 per child. And that's probably a good number. The challenge here is that my principal here at this school, when he receives his budget allocation, he gets about $7,000 of that $16,000. Now, we have learned in the 6 or 7 years that I've been involved here with the school and the rec center that $7,000 per child is not enough. Right? That doesn't buy us the after-school programming that we need. That doesn't buy us the reading coaches. That doesn't buy us the mindfulness programming and workshops. It doesn't engage the parents adequately. So the question is, well, how much do you need, Kim? Right? And so I'm estimating that we need about 13 per child. Okay. Now, how do we get that? Right? Because I can talk to the governor, I can talk to the mayor, you know, go talk to Trump. Yeah, say, I need you to increase that 2% you've given us. And tell Hogan, I need you to increase that 65. They ain't gonna listen to me, right? I am one person, okay? But if I were to rally a bunch of folks, right, to get them smart, and that's what that workshop was about, let me help enlighten more people. Share this dilemma with some concrete data and see if we can't help make a difference. Right? It's not mismanagement. The little money that comes here for our children gets spent on our children. Okay? So we try to raise extra money here locally at this school. So we write grants, right? So we've been successful enough, and as you heard, the principal gave his portion of that presentation, where he said last year we raised $800,000 over and above what we were getting from North Avenue. So if we got think it was $3 million from North Avenue. We added 800 to that, right, to buy those extra programs and services that shouldn't be extra, right? They should be built in to the academic programming, not just here, but every school. So if we were successful in raising 800, were all the other 160 schools equally successful? No, we know they weren't. We know some of them don't have people who write grants for them. We know that the bare bones academics is all those kids get at some schools. So I'm saying, well, how do we increase that bottom line number? Right. So here in Maryland, we've got this thing called a Kirwan Commission, which has been chartered by the state. And the state is saying, yes, we understand that the funding has not been adequate, okay? Because the Maryland State Constitution, Article 8, says that the citizens of Baltimore are entitled to a free and adequate education, right? So who's measuring adequacy? Now, we are measuring adequacy, and we're saying it's not adequate. Right? So this commission is supposed to look at that issue and make some recommendations. Now, again, they're recommendations. That does not mean they're going to be adopted. That does not mean they're going to be implemented. Right? They're going to be recipients of recommendations. Now, what we've got to do is make sure that those recommendations have our full-throated support. And we got to be the ones delivering the message. Don't let this commission deliver. No, we're going to deliver the message. Right? Yeah. So we got to get organized. We got to get together to make sure that the funding in future years is adequate. Because I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to raise $800,000 every year. Right? More than likely, it won't happen every year. So we got work to do, you know, and helping folks understand the budget will help us win this, you know, whole debate.
How do you change history? You can change history by walking and marching. You can change history by speaking and teaching. You can change history by taking a stand or taking a seat. But the best way to change history is when you becomes we. We tore down that wall. We marched for equality. We made sure that love knew no boundaries. Now you can become we right here in Vancouver. We can end HIV. We can change history. It begins with a test. Testing today can range from a blood test that'll inform you in about a week to some locations where a prick of the finger gets you a result in 60 seconds. Diagnosing HIV early changes everything. It prevents the virus from attacking your body, and it prevents it from spreading through our communities. All each of us has to do is step up and take a test. Changing history is that simple. Testing centers are available throughout the city, or just ask your doctor at your next regular visit. And if your doctor offers a test, say yes. It's just the responsible thing to do. Then, share the word. Tell people that HIV treatment has changed. Tell people that testing has advanced. Tell people that the entire approach to HIV is different now. Let them know that by choosing to take a test, we can all end HIV. This is a fact. We are so close. But to become we've got to have you. We need you to do your part. We need you to share the word, take the test, join the movement. End HIV. Change history. Learn more at itsdifferentnow.org.
The impression in African-American community in Baltimore was that Teach for America was just bringing in these young white teachers, right, who have no experience, who basically didn't take and follow the teaching curriculum in college, but in the end are now coming for loan forgiveness and wanting to teach. Now, I applaud that, because we all know that student loan debt is outrageous. But not when it threatens the academic success of our children. Okay. So when we talked about this, I said, I'd like to meet with the cohorts of new teachers and just talk to them. Just chat them up about what it is expected of them as teachers in Baltimore from Kim Trueheart's perspective, right? And introduce them to an environment here at Liberty and walk them around the neighborhood. And so I've done that every year for the past 5 years with the Teach for America new teachers before they go in the classroom. So sometime in the late spring, early summer, meet with these young people. And then again at the end of the first year. And I think it's impactful, right? I think it's impactful for them to understand from a community perspective what they can do. And the other thing that was important was that the first year I interacted with them, only 22% of the cohort for that year that they had recruited, and they were under contract with North Avenue to recruit 100 to 150 teachers. 22% were people of color. Last year, 51% were people of color. And I'd like to think that I had a lot to do with that. Right? Just pointing it out, asking every year, multiple times, what's the numbers look like this year? Yeah. You go over there, you go over here. Yeah. Are you doing anything differently? And so to me, that's a market change. And it's a change that the leadership of Teach for America embraced. And I don't see that changing. I see that the leadership will continue to strive to get a percentage of their new teachers that reflects the demographics of the students. I'm confident that's what they're striving to achieve. Now, cultural competency, some percentage is always going to be non-people of color, right? And so, yeah, when those individuals want to come into an urban district, there is an obligation to teach them how to reflect that cultural competence in their classroom work. And I think teaching them and showing them and exposing them, all those things have to happen. And I think they are.
So it's good things then. Teach for America is trying their best to move in that right direction then.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand, as you did with your initial question, they're not going away, right? The system could hire all on its own, right? But they don't have the staff or the capacity to do that. You want partners who can go out and recruit for you, right? And those partners have to be aligned with what your goals and objectives are in their recruiting strategies. And I think we've got to insist, we have a contract with them. Put it in the contract. These are the things that we need you to do as you recruit. And then hold them accountable for that. And it has to be explicit. Right? Can't be biting your tongue. Yeah. We need you to recruit 150 teachers, and 80% of them ought to reflect the demographics of Baltimore. Right? That shouldn't be hard to say. Most of the charters that we have in Baltimore are locally managed charters. KIPP is the only real national one that we have. And KIPP has a measure of success with their national model, and they've implemented it here in Baltimore with some success as well. I am offended that Baltimore City has more charter schools than all the other counties in the state combined. Right? So why is that? Why do people think that they can come open a charter in Baltimore and make money? Because I had one guy tell me, he says, I'm a capitalist, and that's why I'm opening the charter. And I said, oh, no, that's the wrong answer, right? Why are you telling me you're a capitalist? Yeah. Just for that reason, I'm opposing your charter, right? But charters, there is a place in the system for diverse approaches, right? So charters fits that. Now the challenge is that the state law said that charters should be approved when they offer something unique and different in terms of academic curriculum or programming. Not all of the charters that have been approved in Baltimore offer something unique and different, right? And that's why we have so many. And the idea behind charters was let them experiment and cultivate new methodologies. And then bring that back into the system for the traditional, I like to call them neighborhood schools, to implement. But that doesn't happen. That has not happened. I don't know why. I don't know whether we don't have the wherewithal or whether they're not doing anything unique and different enough to, apply it in different school settings. But that was the intent, right? And at some point in time, we need to get back to the intent. And I say that because the flexibility that charter operators get in the city makes me envious in some instances. They get an annual appropriation per student, like we get per student, except theirs is about $5,000 more per student. And why is that? Because their formula takes into account the building they operate in, whether or not they take services from the central district. And to me, it sounds good, right? That you give them basically the money that they don't use in services, give that back to them. But the fact that they can roll money over from year to year, right? On 30 June, my principal either has spent all his money or he loses it, right? If there's any money left over on the 30th of June, they take it. Charters get to keep money perpetually, right? If they don't spend it, they can bank it, right? And save up for some big thing that they want to do in 3 years down the road. We don't have that kind of luxury, because the assumption is that those big things that we might want to buy are built into the overarching budgetary process. Yes and no. Okay. But I am not a charter fan, by any means. There are some good charters, and I support them. But we got a lot of average, mediocre charters, right? And this school outperforms half the charters, right? And that's a good thing. Right? But yet those charters continue to operate. So there is a need to close neighborhood schools, traditional schools, charter schools, when they don't perform. And I'm not sure we have the political will in all instances to do that. Yeah, we'll close a neighborhood school down in a heartbeat and then leave this edifice vacant in the middle of a neighborhood, right? And tell the folks you got to deal with it. Yeah. Great big empty school building, right? That could be hustling and bustling with all kinds of activities.
We're always ready for action.
We can do it in 2 minutes.
Now, when I was in high school, I couldn't do it in 2 minutes. By the time I got to college, 2 minutes was a cinch.
I really like it when a guy can do it in under 2 minutes.
The key to my marriage is doing it in under 2 minutes.
I can do it in 2 minutes.
I can do it in less than 2 minutes.
I can do it in under 2 minutes myself, and with my boyfriend.
Each year, the Red Cross responds to 66,000 disasters.
Most of them are home fires.
Most of them are home fires.
Ooh.
I know. Whoa.
7 people die each day, on average, from home fires.
7 people.
A day.
That's way too many people.
You can save your life and your family's life.
Make an escape plan.
Make an escape plan.
Make an escape plan.
It's critical that everyone can get out in under 2 minutes.
I can get from my bedroom to my front door in less than 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes.
I can take my shirt off, pour glitter all over myself, and still do it in 2 minutes.
Called my mom the other day, told her I did it in under 2 minutes. She was so proud.
1.5. What? There's no way.
Yeah.
Check your smoke alarms monthly to make sure they're working properly.
Smoke alarms cut your risk of death or injury in half.
Half? It's 50%.
This little guy, cutting it in half.
And if it's beeping at you, don't rip it out of the wall. Give it a battery, you know? Make it happy so it can help you get out of the house in time.
Make sure to visit redcross.org/2steps, 2 minutes.
2 steps.
2 minutes.
2 steps, 2 minutes.
Visit the link below to find out more.
Wherever it is.
Not there. Probably here.
I was listening to a story on one of the news channels about Richard Trumka, right? And he's the current head of the AFL-CIO, right? And Trump said something about him, and he then responded. And the response was, the response from him was, you know, my union this and my union that. And the reporter basically said, unions aren't what they used to be, right? There was a time when a huge percentage of the population belonged to a union, right? And the average American worker, you know, belonged to a union of some sort. And he rattled off the statistic that, less than 12% of the American worker today is in a union, right? Which means the unions don't have power, right? There's some who believe they still do, like the Baltimore Teachers Union. But the unions of today don't always represent the worker in a good way. And I think workers suffer from the vestiges of unionization in many instances. And the teachers are suffering, right? And I don't think they have the level of union advocacy that they really need. I'd love to be president of the Baltimore Teachers Union, right? Yeah. So, are unions important? I think in the public sector, we have unions, right? So all our government employees, all the city, all the state, all the federal employees are unionized. And that gives us some assurances. But I'm not sure that that's the best approach in the 21st century. I think there are folks who are looking at alternatives to unionization. And I think, I wish them well. I wish they succeed in looking out for the worker more than the unions do today. I basically understand power, right? And so my activism is centered around reaching out and touching the powerful who make the bad decisions around the things that I'm advocating for. So my central focus is children, but I've also looked at homelessness in Baltimore, and I've done some advocacy around that, and done some advocacy around food insecurity. But in all the instances, somebody powerful needed to do something to advance my cause. And so how do I engage? I go to city council meetings. I go to city council hearings. I go to hearings in Annapolis, right? I reach out and touch my representatives, my elected representatives, in many instances demand that they support my cause. Go to school board meetings. Just about every school board meeting, I'm there. It's rare that I've missed any since 2010. Right? So my advocacy is about being present and aware. I tell folks that the school board agenda, and I even said that at the budget workshop you were at, that the school board agenda comes out the Saturday before the Tuesday meeting. So I'm looking at that agenda usually on Sunday. And if there's something in there that offends me, right, then I'm going to shoot off an email, right, with my opposition, my objection, and they'll have that by Tuesday. And I do the same with the Board of Estimates at City Hall, with council hearings on bills that either support or don't support my advocacy. And so I think it's about understanding that as a citizen, I can do those things. And I don't have to be connected to some big enterprise. It's just me, Kim Trueheart, a citizen and resident of Baltimore. And I have a voice. Now, I might use it very differently than most, but everybody has a voice, right? And so for me, it's about engaging in an informed way and communicating very explicitly about what it is that I'm asking for. And so I think it's powerful. I've gotten a lot accomplished, and I'm very thankful for that. You know, there's a situation where I started protesting against the delays in the construction of our new supermarket down the street. Now, Super Pride Supermarket closed 15 years before the supermarket was even being talked about. And the building sat there vacant. We had no, in Howard Park community, no supermarket, right? And the city was listening to us. The city development folks put together a development package. And part of the package included land that was owned by Rite Aid. Now, the Rite Aid that was down at Gwynn Oak and Liberty Heights moved to Airedale and Liberty Heights, right? But they still owned the land down the street. And that land was a piece of the land that we were going to build the new supermarket on. Now, in the deed that they were offering to sell the city, it said whoever buys this land cannot put a pharmacy and sell cosmetics. Now, when I heard that, I said, oh no, who are these people from Pennsylvania thinking they can come in my neighborhood and tell me what amenities I can have at my new supermarket? No, this ain't working. I am not feeling these Rite Aid people from Pennsylvania at all. And so I tried to get people excited about this and said, do you know the groundbreaking is being held up because they want the city, right, to pay them, right, to remove the restriction, right, and for the land. And I'm saying, oh no, y'all ain't giving them a dime, right? And so I tried to get my neighbors to come up here and picket and protest at the right. Nobody came but me. I started out on a Monday. I asked people as they came to Rite Aid, would you consider spending your money across the street at Walgreens? Because Rite Aid is holding up the construction of our new supermarket. Right? And everybody said, oh, really? I didn't know that. And they said, oh, yeah. And everybody turned around and walk over across the street. Right? So the first day I turned away about 36 people. Right? Now, that's a big chunk of their business for one day. So that night, now mind you, throughout the time I was walking up and down the public sidewalk, they were calling the cops. I know they called the cops on me at least 4 or 5 times. And the cops finally said, Ms. Trueheart, you have every right to be on this public sidewalk. Just don't interfere with people going in. I'm not doing that. Yeah. So that night I got home, I did at Rite Aid on my Facebook. And I told them this was my first day. I'm learning. I don't really know what I'm doing. But I think it's impactful that I turned away 36 of your customers. And I'm going to go back tomorrow. and I'm going to do better because I've learned a lot today, right? So I go back the next day, and I think I turn away about 45 people. Right? Now, by this time, the employees at the Rite Aid are getting sympathetic, right? They actually said, "Miss Trueheart, you want to come in and use the restroom?" You know? So that was good. Then they brought in 2 young brothers, and I think they were Morgan students, and their job was to police me, right? Right. Their job was to base. They tried to be these bad guys, right? And I just, you know, had conversations with them. I said, I don't know what they told you, but for the money you're getting, you better be straight, and you better make sure that you're not selling out. And I said, because I'm going to be here, right? And you're going to be here. And I don't need you to try to antagonize me. I don't need you to try to intimidate me. I said, I'm too old for this. I said, I'm going to be here. You might not be here. Right? And then once they started communicating, they stopped acting stupid. Right? So anyway, I write an email, a Facebook post again, and everybody in the city who is a friend of mine, and I have over 2,000 Facebook friends, were saying, Miss Trueheart, we can't come during the week, but we're going to hit up the Rite Aid over here and over there and on the weekend. We're going to be there Saturday. We're going to hit everywhere. And I'm saying, I'm loving this, right? Because this is Tuesday, Wednesday. So Wednesday I go, and I say, well, I'm going to go to a different Rite Aid. So I left this one, and I went to the one up on Wabash. Right? And I turned away about 60 people. Right? I'm loving it, right? I got people interviewing me, you know, doing Facebook and all of this, you know, and I got folks coming to see me at the Rite Aid, right, just to have a conversation, you know. And so that night I wrote them another note, and I said, this is growing. I said, have you seen the post on my page of everybody who's going to come join me this weekend, right? And I think I struck a nerve, right, Wednesday. Because Thursday, I'm getting ready, and I was going to go out again, and I get a call. And the call is, Rite Aid has called the mayor and basically said they will give us the land for the new supermarket, and they will remove the restriction from the deed. Give us. They don't want no money. Just get that crazy woman out from in front of our store. So the next week, the very next week, we had the groundbreaking for construction. I said, love it. Right? Just one little person, right? Bringing down a national corporation, right? Getting them to understand that this was a growing movement. And while it was me for 3 days, started the 4th day, but it was going to be every Rite Aid in Baltimore City pretty much that Saturday. And I am so thankful for that, right? That we have a supermarket in our community that we had done without for, you know, over 15 years. And that shows the power of the people. Right? It shows with a plan, right, we can get things done to benefit us. And I'm proud of that.